Hello everyone and welcome back to the Belgian Beer Brothers channel. Cedric here in Antwerp with yet another brew review, and today is not only a festive special day because we are celebrating the 1st of January 2026, we are also celebrating number 500 in these brew reviews. And of course I couldn't let this go past unnoticed, so I selected a specialty beer, a historic beer. Timing is everything. So last month, the Antwerp Brewing Company, the guys from Safe Beer, amongst other ones, they released their Zurenborger. Now, this is a historic beer. Why? Because, well, Safe Beer was already a historic beer that they brought back in 2012. And if you want to know that story, just visit the brewery. I'm a guide there. Book me. But the Antwerp brewers, of course, brewed more beers than just Safe Beer. And that wasn't the time of Pilsners yet. Like every brewery now has their own lager, their own Pilsner. But back in those days, they had une bière d'orge, basically a barley beer, but a prestige beer. And that is what became today the Zurenborger. How did they do this? Well, they found a recipe that dates back to 1851, and they brewed it and they aged this beer on the finest French oak barrels. Johan from Antwerp Brewing Company has connections in France, and he handpicked and selected these oak barrels. They aged the beer from 2019 until, let's say, September, October of 2025, so the better part of 5 years. And bottled it 2 months ago, which became this, the barley beer. Of course, they called it Zurenborger. There is a story behind that. Safe Beer, Safe is also the name of an Antwerp neighborhood, a borough, the Safe Hoek. Their other beer, Alantje, is also where they are located, on the borough Alantje in Antwerp. The neighborhood is the Cadix neighborhood, so they have a beer called Cadix. And Zurenborg is practically around the corner near Berchem. And because this is a rather acidic beer, which is in Dutch zuur, sour, they thought, why not couple that to the Zurenborg neighborhood, the Zurenborgwijk. So yeah. It's also a hip and trendy neighborhood, so I am very, very curious. The wrapper also says limited edition. I think they only have 3,000 bottles, so I'm very lucky to have one or some. Zurenborger recipe from 1851, Antwerp barley beer, 5 years aging on oak barrels, provision beer, which also ages in the bottle. Of course, I had a few bottles and at least one is gonna age. Brewed in 2019, bottled in 2025. Antwerp Extra Barley, 19th century prestige beer from Antwerp Brewers. Brewed after the original Antwerp recipe from 1851, also known as bière d'orge d'Anvers. This beer aged for 5 years in oak barrels. During this aging, the beer undergoes a spontaneous fermentation. And that is also a, let's say, a well-kept secret, or something that is just lost in history, that spontaneous fermentation was not only possible around Brussels. There were several beers of spontaneous fermentation in the coastal region, in the Ardennes as well. Think about Orval, for example, which is a Walloon beer of spontaneous fermentation. But even in Antwerp, or back then Brabant, they had spontaneous fermentation, be it different. Before bottling, this beer is cut with young beer, which brings freshness next to the depth of the barrel-aged character. The result is a vinous, complex beer with a soft, mellow sourness, hints of malt, oak, and a wild fermentation with local yeast. A real provision beer that can age further in the cellar, where character and depth keep evolving. A unique piece of Belgian and Antwerp beer patrimonium. Best before 2030, so we still have time, and I think that it's a shelf life of 5 years. I think this is just because they have to put a year on there. I don't think that this will go bad. I think this will last for a while. 7% ABV. Enjoy and ching for life. Contents: malted barley, oats, wheat, and yeast and hop. Okay, let's undress this baby and see what all the fuss is about. I have anticipated this beer for quite a long time. I've been working for the brewery for 3 years now, and I have been awaiting this beer for like 2 years, because I knew that there was something in those wood casks, but they weren't allowed to tell me anything. Lovely label. Of course with Johan's signature, because as well as the owner, he is still the brewmaster too. A plain black muselet. And I'm sure that the cork isn't branded either, because of course this is not the brewery's core business. Yeah, nice vapor. Ooh. Wow. First off, nice color. Not entirely what I expected. It's a bit lighter, a bit browner even. But this looks quite nice. Nice copper amber. Even though they didn't use roasted malts, but of course that color comes from the oak, from the wood. And despite being slightly acidic, and I already get that in the nose, so very aromatic, we still get a bit of foam, which is also better than expected. Relatively hazy. And not extremely lively, but I do see a bunch of bubbles purling up. Although while opening I did get the so it is carbonated. Not a lot of foam, of course, that is to be expected. This acidity breaks down a lot of the protein, which in turn has its effect on the foam stability. Is that a bad thing? Nope, that is just what this kind of beer does, or what this kind of beer has. But nice yellowish beige foam. Yeah, acidic, woody, sour. This reminds me of some beers that I really like, actually, like Rodenbach Grand Cru, or for example Liefmans Golden Band, the Gouden Band. It has that same balance between wood and acidity. Yeah, this actually reminds me of a Liefmans Gouden Band when it's like nice and fresh, like just after aging. And I think if you would put them next to each other on a blind tasting, I would really struggle. And I would probably say Liefmans Gouden Band, because that's not limited edition, that is widely available. So, ooh, very important, because these are not the cheapest bottles, and a special beer like this, we don't want to lose anything. Yeah, very astringent as well. I think I'm gonna like this. Okay, cheers. Okay. Love the taste. It might be a bit cold. I just got it from the fridge. It might be a bit too cold. But yeah, it is carbonated, but very softly. It's not as sour as the aroma would suggest. But it is quite acidic and mainly astringent, so it's more astringent from the wood than it is from the acidity of the fermentation. I get a tiny hint of vinegar, but very, well, I want to say subtle, but it's not that subtle. It's not annoying. It does have a bit of vinegar, a bit of lemon. And I would compare this to blackcurrant, like cassis. Very refreshing. I think this would be awesome with some strong cheese, for example. Yeah, very nice. And also, it is refreshing, it is pleasant in the mouth, but it's still slightly creamy. And of course it has oats, it has wheat, so a lot of protein, even though the protein is mainly destroyed by the acidity. There is still some balance in there. It's still very, yeah, nice and full in the mouth. The acidity is also pleasant. And the aftertaste is very light, it's very subtle, but it does linger. So yeah, I think a very nice experiment, and it turned out great. I think as a piece of Antwerp heritage, yeah, and anyone should go out and try this. And while this warms up a bit, of course this releases more aroma, and it's releasing, yeah, the hoppiness. I think that they mainly used something like a Asterion Golding or something, at least hops that they could get that were available 100 years ago. No aroma hops, mainly bitter hops, maybe even old bitter hops, but they are present mainly in the aftertaste, which really adds a dimension to this. So yeah, scoring. Let's call it an even 4. I think I am still comparing this to a Goudenband a bit, not necessarily to a Rodenbach, but very pleasant. I think a Rodenbach is more fruity, this is more acidic, so more to the red brown, to the Goudenband family, but very, very nice indeed. Yeah, that's a 4. I think this would also be very nice with desserts, like silly things like pudding or ice cream or flan caramel or things like that. But that all being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for joining me in number 500. Yeah, celebration all around, fireworks. I know it's not for me, but I'm gonna take it. And yeah, if you want to support this channel, leave a comment, hit a thumbs up, share a video, visit the Patreon page, buy me a beer, come visit the brewery, all those things. And I will see you guys again, yeah, tomorrow. I'm not going to do a brew review tomorrow, but I do have a video for you guys tomorrow. So, cheers, until then.